So a couple of years ago, a friend told me about a novel idea that he had. It was this big, grand vision that would take him a really long time to write, and he knew it, and in his defense, he did start working in earnest on it for the first few days after having that idea. But as you could probably guess, after those first few days, his motivation waned, and he stopped working on the book. Now, when this happened, we didn't want to see him give up on the project, but one of the suggestions we gave him was to first cut his teeth on some smaller projects, maybe work on some short stories or some blog posts, just something to basically get him into the habit of writing regularly. But his response to these suggestions was that he didn't want to waste his time on these smaller projects. If he was going to write, he only wanted to tackle his grand vision. And this happens to a lot of people when they set big goals. They don't want to detour from their grand vision to work on something a bit smaller. And this mindset, as well-intentioned and determined as it may seem, is one of the biggest reasons why people fail to achieve their big goals. Far from being a waste of time, these detours from your grand vision, which I like to call intermediate goals, are actually essential for helping you build the skill set you need to actually execute on that bigger project. Essentially, no matter what the goal is that you've set, you need to be able to see regular and tangible progress being made. Otherwise, your motivation is going to wane and you're going to stop working on it. And to illustrate this point, I want to share a couple of examples with you. And we're going to start with Neal Stephenson, who is one of my favorite authors in the world. Stevenson is one of those authors that writes huge, dauntingly complex novels, typically in the hard science fiction genre. And one of his books, Snow Crash, which is one of my personal favorites, actually coined the term avatar, at least in its context as a term related to computers and virtual reality and video games. And if you take even just a few minutes to peruse Stevenson's work, particularly his longer novels like Cryptonomicon or Quicksilver, you start to realize that this is a guy with a ridiculously wide array of knowledge. And he has this uncanny ability to blend complex topics like Sumerian mythology with really weird plot lines involving a katana-wielding swordsman who delivers pizza for the mafia. And somehow it all works. Among science fiction readers like myself, few would disagree that Stevenson is one of the titans of the genre, and he even commands respect outside of literary circles. He shared the stage at Arizona State University with people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, theoretical physicist Brian Greene, and he's even worked as an advisor to Jeff Bezos' space company Blue Origin. So you might find it surprising that Stevenson's first novel, a book called The Big U, initially wasn't very successful at all. In fact, Stevenson himself isn't very proud of it, stating, "The Big U is what it is, a first novel written in a hurry by a young man a long time ago." And for a long time after its publication in 1984, the book was almost impossible to find. It was only Stevenson's later success that convinced HarperCollins to republish it. Now, if you look at the reviews of this book over on a site like Goodreads, you find that most people don't think that this is a bad book. It doesn't have a stellar score, but it's not terrible either. And this kind of makes sense. You would expect to see in this earlier work some of the elements that would later be refined into his more successful works. But the key point is that it's not something Stevenson was proud of. And yet, he published it anyway. And then a second book, Zodiac, which also didn't really make waves. But with each published book, Stevenson honed his craft. And then finally, he published Snow Crash, which was wildly successful. And since then, he's continued to write bigger and more ambitious stories. Okay, so maybe Stevenson's example isn't enough for you. So let's look at one more case study for good measure. And this time I want to look at the game developer Matt Thorson. Thorson is one of the developers of Towerfall Ascension, which is by far, hands down, one of my all-time favorite games. The simple but ultra-precise controls, the deceptively deep strategy, and the ultra-fast gameplay make it ridiculously fun to play with friends, and it's even made its way to big fighting game tournaments like EVO. Towerfall was a really successful game, and Thorson's upcoming game, Celeste, looks to be even more ambitious and polished, and I cannot wait to play it in January. So Matt Thorson is obviously a really talented game developer, but the reason that I love him so much as an example here is because on his website, he has left a record of almost every game he's made. You can scroll through and see almost everything he's developed since 2004, and you can even download most of the games and play them for yourself, which gives you a really visceral picture of his progression. And these early games aren't bad at all, but there's a stark difference between these earlier efforts, like Jumper, and a game like Celeste. So Matt Thorson is another great example of the power of intermediate goals, and the history on his website is a perfect illustration of the skill development that's brought about when you regularly finish things on a somewhat restricted timescale. Of course, if I'm gonna make an argument for the strategy of detouring from the grand vision, of regular delivery on goals with a smaller scope, then I do need to acknowledge the cases where it doesn't seem to apply. So let's look at the case of Stardew Valley. This game is a brilliantly crafted homage to the classics of the farm RPG genre like Harvest Moon, and by all accounts, it has been wildly successful. At the moment, it's got almost 70,000 reviews on Steam with overwhelmingly positive sentiment, and last time I checked, it was near the top of the bestsellers list on the Switch Game Store as well. And all the success is deserved. It's an excellent game. It's got deep and rewarding mechanics, there's a ton to do, the graphics are beautiful for the style, and the music is pretty darn good as well. And the crazy thing is, the game's developer, Eric Barone, did all of it. The coding, the art, the music, literally everything. In total, he spent over 4 years working on this game, and honestly, it's a pretty astounding feat. And as far as I can tell, at least, it's his first game. Before working on it, he did graduate with a computer science degree, but he was working as an usher at a movie theater. It's his first real effort. So at least as far as his public record is concerned, Eric Barone is proof that you can indeed achieve something great on your first try. Given that, let me put it to you this way. If you know that you're that lone genius type, if you've been toiling away quietly on your masterpiece in between classes and underappreciated shifts as an Applebee's line cook, then feel free to ignore me. The reasoned arguments of somebody on the internet could never outshine your conviction anyway. And honestly, you're probably not even watching this. But if you really do think that you're that lone genius who shouldn't detour away from the grand vision for anything, then you had better be able to honestly say that you're putting in the work on a regular basis. And Eric Barone is a great example of this. He often worked 10 hours a day or more while working on Stardew Valley. If, on the other hand, the grand scope of your ambitious project is more daunting than anything, if you find yourself working in fits and starts, often abandoning the project for months at a time, if you find yourself coming home from class or work and deciding that you deserve to take a break and just play some Overwatch rather than working for 4 more hours, then you're just like me and most other people. You just don't have that nearly rabid level of focus and determination required to work for years in obscurity without any feedback or recognition or even the satisfaction of finishing a project. And honestly, that's fine. There's a reason we don't lock 6-year-olds in a closet and tell them to learn calculus. Most of us do better when given a task that stretches our capabilities to a point, but isn't so far beyond them that it seems impossible. And getting regular feedback or being able to see a progression of finished projects is a very good thing. So here is the one idea that I want you to chew on for this week and keep in the back of your head the next time you're setting a goal. Restrict your time scale. Ask yourself what you could get done in a week or even a day. If you want to make video games, challenge yourself to make 1 game this week, even if it's just a red block that jumps. Or if maybe you want to learn how to cook, find a meal that uses just a few simple ingredients and make it tonight. And then next week, make something a little bit more ambitious and build from there. It's often the case that your grand vision is full of challenges and difficulties that you aren't even aware of yet. This is called second order incompetence. You literally don't know what you don't know. But by taking on a series of smaller projects, each of which stretch your capabilities to just a little bit beyond where they are right now, you start building that base of knowledge that's going to allow you to someday execute on that grand vision. Of course, if the goal you're setting for yourself is something that you don't quite know how to do yet, like cooking or game development, then it can also be very useful to seek out experts who have been there and who can teach you the most efficient techniques. And one of the best places on the internet to find those experts is Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning platform with over 17,000 courses and subjects ranging from presentation skills to graphic design to JavaScript programming. And in addition to those more professional topics, Skillshare also has over 400 courses in cooking, which is what I want to highlight this week because one of the things I'm working on right now is becoming a better cook. And this has been really rewarding. I found that learning how to cook results in me eating healthier, it makes me spend less money on food because I'm not going out as often, but also, most surprisingly, it's made the process of cooking more enjoyable. In the past, I've always seen cooking as a chore, something that I wanted to get done as quickly as possible so I could go do other things or do more work. But I found that learning new techniques and challenging myself to make new recipes actually makes the process really enjoyable, even kind of meditative. And when I get into it, I don't care how long it takes because I'm having fun. So for those reasons, I think that cooking is one of those skills that basically everyone could benefit from learning. And on Skillshare, Kenny Monroe's course, Think Like a Chef, is a great introduction that teaches fundamentals like knife skills, what to have in your pantry, basic ingredients, and also goes through a couple of different recipes. So if you want to go through that course and start learning how to cook or dig into any of the thousands of other courses on the platform, give Skillshare a try using the link in the description down below. And if you're among the first 500 people to sign up with that link, you also get a 2-month free trial of unlimited learning. And there is a lot that you could learn in 2 months. After that, their premium subscriptions start at less than $10 a month and you can cancel at any time. I want to give a huge thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video and many more before it. They've been a big supporter of this channel and I'm hugely appreciative of that support. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to this channel yet, you can subscribe right there to get notifications when I publish new videos. You can also get a free copy of my book on how to earn better grades right there, or check out our latest podcast episode right down there. Lastly, you'll find one more video from this channel floating right around there, so check that out, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.